Okay, so this is Mr. Tedder, chemistry classes at Dorman High School. This is one of the very first activities we do in this class. And what we're going to do is a very simple observations activity. Okay, it's very important that you build skills in doing good observations. There's not a lot to this, but before you start, you're going to need a particular handout that we have. And I want to show you that handout now. This handout can be downloaded from my web pages. There's the web address, www.tedderchemistry.com, and this is the first day activity observations sheet. And you're going to need to have a pen to write on this worksheet to turn it in and get credit for this activity. Now it's very important that you write down your observations and not erase and then try to start over. This is not an activity that you get points for getting something right. You get points for learning. And the way that I see that you've learned is that you show me the progression of your thought process as this activity goes forward. So what I'm about to show you now is the actual observation. All right, so you want to be very, very careful to pay as close attention as you possibly can. You want to write down all the detail that you possibly can, all the information that you can about what you're watching, what you're seeing that's going on. And then record that in the first section there where it says observation number 1 on the worksheet. So let's go now to what you're going to observe. Very, very simple here. And you're going to watch something happening here, and you're going to record this under observation number 1 on the worksheet. Okay? There we go. You see what's going on. Alright, now what we want to do is to pause the video. We're going to stop the video for a moment, and you're going to just write down all the observations of what you saw. We're going to pause the video here, and you're going to record all your observations. You're going to get about 2 or 3 minutes, and then we're going to go to a second observation. So we're back now, and we're going to see the second observation. So here is the object that you saw. I haven't done any special fancy camera work. This is the actual object that you saw a moment ago. And now you're going to see something else happen. And we're going to talk about what you're going to do with that. Is everybody ready? Pay close attention. No special camera work. No tricks. It's not magic. In fact, I'm famous for saying that it's only magic till you learn the chemistry or the science. So, now on your observation sheet, let's go back to that a minute, you're going to go to observation number 2, and you're going to think a little bit. Is there any change in the kind of observations you wrote down when you wrote down your observations for number 1? Is there any change in what you think your observations should have been had you known then what you know now in the second observation? So you're going to record that, and again we're going to pause the video while you write in that section of our worksheet your second observation, or the changes that you think you ought to make. Read the instructions there and just do that. We'll take 2 or 3 minutes to do that, so we're going to pause the video for that purpose. Okay, we're back now again. Now let's go back to our worksheet. And you'll notice right under observation number 2, you'll see where it says justification. And under justification, you're going to explain why you believe that either your observation in number 1 needed to be changed after you saw observation 2, or your observation number 1 did not need to be changed after observation number 2. You're going to explain that, and then you're going to give a justification. Now this is really, really important. This is where intellectual honesty is extremely important. You have to really think and use the brain that you were given to figure out, did I need to make a change in the observation or not? And whether you decide yes or no, you have to explain it. You have to justify it. That means you have to sort of defend what you're choosing to do now in much the same way that a lawyer would defend a client in court. So we're going to pause now for 2 or 3 minutes while you take care of that. Okay, we're back again, and we're going to scroll down here to think. All right, so here's where you're going to explain why you believe that I was able to do what I did in observation number 2. Based on what you saw in number 1, based on what you thought in number 1, and based on what you saw in number 2, what do you think allowed me to do what you saw there? We'll pause again for a couple of minutes and give you a chance to write an explanation. Okay, we're back again now. We're going to go to the back page and we're going to find where it says pair. In this class, there's going to be a lot of activity in which you are learning with other students. You're going to be working in small groups, sometimes just pair groups, sometimes in smaller, slightly larger groups. If we have an odd number of students, we may have 3 people in a group. Or if you're making this up at home, you'll be working alone on this. But you're going to what you're going to do is you're going to compare your observations, compare everything that's been said up to this point, everything written down at this point in pen on your worksheet, with your pair group. And then using that information, you're going to write everybody in the group, not just one person, everybody in the group is going to write a sort of common set of observations, or just a sort of a summary of observations and your reasoning, your thought process here. You're going to explain what you saw the first time, what you thought it was, what happened the second time, did you change this? And again, this is common. You have to figure out how you're going to put all that together. That's your job as a group. And then you're going to explain why it was necessary to make any changes if you did, or why you didn't make any changes if you didn't think it was necessary. And we'll pause for about 2 minutes for you to finish that. Okay, we're back now, and we're going to go down to share. So you have to decide who in your group is going to be your spokesperson. We're going to stop now while you decide on who your spokesperson is going to be. And your spokesperson is going to explain to the entire class what you think, or what you basically decided as a group in your pair section right above that. So as a group, what did your group come up with as far as observation 1, observation 2? Did you change anything, and why? The justification. Why did you think it was necessary to change or not change? And then you're going to report to the entire class. So choose your spokesperson now. Elect a spokesperson. I'm going to give you 1 minute to do that, and then you guys can spend the rest of that minute deciding, and everybody has to write this down now. I need everybody to write something in share on what you're going to share with the entire class. We're pausing now for about 2 minutes. Okay, we're back now. After the share activity, now I'm going to take a second and kind of explain to you what all this is supposed to help you understand. So we have an observation here under explanation and inference under explanation. And I'm going to give you some examples of observations and inferences. So, under observation, what you first observed, if in fact what you observed was something that was not in keeping with what you learned in the second observation. In other words, if you said that in observation 1 you saw a candle that was lit, well, that was not a good observation, because what you wrote down was not really, could not clearly be justified as being a candle. Now, it would have been just fine if you said that you wrote down what appears to be a candle. That's reasonable. But just writing down that it's a candle is not enough. That's not a thorough observation. A thorough observation would include that it was in what appeared to be perhaps a brass candlestick. You might describe the height of the candle, an estimation of the height of the candle. You might describe the lighting of the candle. You might describe the shape of the candlestick, how thick, or what was the diameter of the candle. All those things are part of the observation. And whether you write good observations or not, thorough observations, clear and justifiable observations, will have a lot to do with the kind of grade you're going to get in this class. Now let's talk about inferences. There is a clear difference between observations and inferences. And part of the reason for doing this activity is for you to understand the difference, to see that there is a difference between an observation and an inference. An observation is that you saw what appeared to be a candle. had a slightly off-white or light yellow color, perhaps. It was approximately 5 centimeters high, approximately 1.5 centimeters thick. See, we try to avoid English measurements like inches. It's much better to write in centimeters or meters or millimeters for lengths. And so you need to get used to doing that. In this class, we're not going to use any English measurements, only metric measurements. So, back to inferences now. So an inference is that it was a candle. That is an inference. It was not necessarily a candle. And what happened in observation number 2, I think made that clear to most of you, although some of you may just think I'm just crazy. That's possible. But a better scientific observation would be that it had all these measurements, these sizes. It appeared to be a candle. It had a certain color. The color of the base was appeared to be sort of a gold or brass color, yellow color perhaps you might say. But an inference is that it was a candle. So when you go beyond what is an actual observation, what you see, smell, taste, touch, what you feel, what might be you might feel as far as being off balance on a ship, for example, if a ship is tossing in the sea, those kind of things would be part of an observation. The reason for those things, or what you extend beyond the actual observation, well, those things would be an inference. So let's go down here and do some examples. So for the observation, and we're going to go on through this really. We've told you that you could say that it had an off-white color or a light yellow color. It was about 5 centimeters tall. It was about 2.5 centimeters, about 1.5 centimeters thick, or had a diameter of 1.5 centimeters perhaps. Your observation would include that it was lit with a cigarette lighter or a hand lighter. You want to take a minute and record all that we talked about in this video, all that you could have written down as a possible observation. Then, under inferences, you want to infer, you want to make inferences about what it was really, okay, about what you think the evidence led you to believe it actually was. And initially, your inference was that it was a candle. But now you're going to infer about what you think it might be, having seen the second observation. So take a few minutes now, or a minute, and write down a list of really good observations and really good inferences here based on observations 1 and 2. And then you'll be ready to turn in your worksheet. Now, one last thing, before you turn in your worksheet, you've got to fill out the top, because obviously I can't give you a grade without a name. So this is how you're going to be filling out any homework, classwork, and so forth. Anything you turn into me that doesn't have another designation for the way you're going to fill it out, you're going to turn it in with these things in the upper right corner. So start learning this now. You're going to put your last name first and first name last. You can see this over here on the right hand side. Okay? The date. You're going to put the year first. So this, at the time this is being recorded anyway, is the year 2013. So you're going to write down 4 digits, 2013. If you're watching this in the year 2016, make sure you write down 2016. Then you're going to use a 2-digit month designation. If it's the month of August, that's 08. If it's the month of January, that's 01. If this is December, that's 12. And then you're going to tell me the day of the month by 2 digits. So if this is August the 15th, you're going to say 15. If it's August the 20th, you're going to say 20. If this is January the 5th, that's 05 for the day. Okay? And I've got an example over here to the right that kind of helps you to see what what at least this date would look like. August 19, 2013 would look like in this designation or method I'm showing you here. Then a description of the work. So you have to decide how you're going to describe it. Was this classwork? You can write CW for classwork, but you need a little more than just classwork. You need to tell me a little more about what it was. You might write that this is an observations and inference activity. Okay? And then the teacher's last name. You can simply write Tedder, that's capital T-E-D-D-E-R, in that space. Capital T-E-D-D-E-R. Well, it doesn't show up so good, but let's see if I can get it up there for you. There's my last name. You could write Mr. Tedder, or you could write Tedder, but make sure you have my name on there in case it gets misplaced, somebody ends up with it, they know where to who to bring it back to.